Hello, my Fashion the Mind, all things beauty alert family. It is none other than your Triple C CEO, Jennifer C. Cook, the one that consistently builds class, confidence, and courage. And this is week 3, where we are discussing Welcome to the Queen's Court. If you have not watched my intro video or video number 1, please go back and take a look at both so you have an idea of what you can expect. But if you are new to this YouTube channel, please do me a favor, subscribe, because I want you to be a part of the royal court, okay? So literally subscribe, share, comment, tag someone, because we are on a mission to embrace what being a queen is all about. As I said in my intro, in this culture, we refer to each other as queens quite often. But when you carry that title, there is a level of responsibility and a level of integrity that we must rise to. So last week, we actually talked about charisma and being confident. Today, we're going to talk about class and courage. And those are two of my sweet spots, because that's why I'm called the Triple C CEO, the one that consistently builds class, confidence, and courage. So let's go ahead and deep dive into class and courage, okay? First and foremost, class is not about your socioeconomic status, but rather it has to do with your brand and your stylish excellence. So let me read the definition to you of class. Showing stylish excellence, a set or category of things having some property or attribute in common, yet, listen to this part, yet differentiated from others by kind, type, or quality. So keep that in mind, okay? So when we speak about class, and oftentimes I think most of us, we go to history, okay? And we know that in history, there has been a such thing as a classist society. Well, believe it or not, we still somewhat in the United States of America have that. That's why we denote people as either rich, middle class, or poor. Okay, so those are 3 classifications of economic status that people fall into here in the United States of America. But then a lot of times that also has to do with one's education, one's background, and where they are from. All of this is relative to class. But then if you pay careful attention to the definition, it also has to do with how you dress and present yourself. One of the reasons I began the Fashion the Mind, Fashion the Figure brand is because as I looked deeper into social media, fashion, music, etc., I have found that in a lot of instances, whether male or female, we are being negatively defined. And I'll say that again, negatively defined. It is so hard these days, even though you may find some positive imagery, you have more of the negative imagery being spotlighted, and people are taking that into their psyche. And so when people start to take those type of thoughts into their psyche, it translates into their behavior, their conversation. And that's not what we want. We want to uphold positivity at all costs. Because I think on some of our historians and women and men who have come before us, and yes, things were a little bit different back then. In this world today, we're more about liberality and doing what makes you happy. But you have to keep in mind, there is a level of respect that you want to command and demand. And so your class, your personal brand, your personal dress, attire, a lot of that says something about you. Now, some of you may disagree with me, and that is perfectly fine. I'm not saying we have to walk around here and look like nuns and priests, but where is the pride and the dignity that we take in ourselves as human beings. This message isn't just for women, because there are some men out there that need a wardrobe makeover just as much as women do. And not only do we need wardrobe makeovers, but we also need self-esteem makeovers. Oftentimes, our actions are a direct reflection to, one, the people we hang around, two, the quality of time that we spent taking in things like social media, okay? That is so important, because literally, my mom taught my sister and me growing up. In fact, she taught all of my siblings this. People judge you by your appearance before you open your mouth. And I'm sure those of you that follow me have heard me say that before. And it is truth. There is a lot of truth to that. Because if there weren't, then a lot of us would not steer clear from homeless people. How many of us, let's be honest, when you see a homeless person, you're judging them by their outer man, and either you're compelled to talk to them, or you put this barrier in between you and that person, and you either don't engage in conversation or you quickly engage and move on. There's not a lot of us that really take time to talk to homeless people unless you are out there doing mission work. And that's a person whose heart is in helping the homeless. So it is so important that we begin to take back what class really is. Class is not about wearing red bottom shoes. It's not about driving the most expensive car, living in the most fabulous community. Class is about the best representation of yourself that commands and demands respect of you as a human being. And it starts with us taking the responsibility, myself included, in how we present ourselves to others. Think about this. If you went on a job interview and you were not appropriately dressed, even though they called you in for the interview, be based on your resume, sometimes that deciding factor boils down to presentation. And I want us, as men and women, all of us that are watching, young boys and girls, if you should happen to stumble across this, I want us to keep to the forefront of our minds the importance of best self-presentation. We talk about self-care. Well, let's talk about best self-presentation. Working in corporate America, if you want to rise and excel to the top, there is a certain conversation, there is a certain style of dress, and yes, those things still do quietly exist. Though companies are talking about diversity and inclusion, they are also, fact be told, they are also looking at the total you. They're not just isolating and saying, okay, well, this person does great work. They're also looking at the total package, because that total package is a part of your personal and professional brand. So let's think about a couple of things, ladies and gents, because I want to give you an exercise, and I'm going to drop this exercise right here, smack dab in the middle of this presentation. Number one, here's some questions I want to ask you. So write them down and be prepared to answer them. What does your brand say about you? When people hear your name, what is the first thought they think of? Number two, what do you do to differentiate yourself from everyone else? I've shared this with people. Even twins have distinct differences. They may be identical or fraternal, but they still have distinct differences. Number three, are you an agent of change in your environment? Are you raising the bar, setting higher standards for people to emulate and look up to? Now, yes, you're going to have some people who say, oh, who does she think she is? She's just being a snob, or she's being snooty, or whatever the case may be. No, That is not it. What this is all about is helping us to elevate our minds so that as we grow in this life and as we grow as human beings, we bring forth the best representation of ourselves. One of the ways in which I improve my class, and I got this idea from a friend, he lives in Nigeria. I literally every day have come to my phone a new vocabulary word. And I try to practice using that word in a sentence because I want to expand my horizon in the world of vocabulary. It is very important that with public speaking or any type of public address that I bring forth my best self. And these are the types of things that I have begun to do to improve my level of class. Now, you may think of something different for yourself, and that is perfectly fine. But it is important that you think about class not just from the perspective of finances and resources, but you also think about it in how you speak, how you walk, simple gentilities of thank you, no thank you, yes. We've gotten away from that because a lot of times in this culture, no one wants to take time to enunciate words and slow down. No one wants to be slow to speak and quick to listen. And this is why I think there is mass confusion about class. Because when we think of class, let's be honest, shake your head, yes, in agreement. When we think of class, we're always thinking from the financial perspective, but we're not thinking about from the personal branding perspective or the professional branding perspective. Are you the kind of person someone wants to engage in business with? That is a part of class. Because people want to be associated with people who are world-class class acts. And I have found that to be true time and time again. Here's another question for you. Do you transform or conform your culture? Do you transform or conform to your culture? I am moving toward being a conformist. I don't want to be like everyone else. I want my unique abilities and talents and callings to set itself apart from everybody else. Why? Because when the Creator, the divine, spoke me into existence, He gave me that. He gave me unique things that I can use to help better myself and to help better the people that I interact with, whether in person or virtually. And then my last question. What's preventing you from becoming a class all by yourself? What is preventing you? So this right here will require some thought. In fact, all of my questions require some thought. And I really want you to take this assignment to heart because it's not to belittle or dumb you down, but in fact, it is to cause inner reflection. See, it's in those quiet times that we spend alone and do some inner reflection where we are really at one with our divine and ourselves and understand I need to work on this area and I need to improve on that area. Because there is so much to us as human beings. But a lot of times, because there's so much chit chatter going on and we're looking at other people's lives through mirrors and glasses, that we're not focusing on our own lives. The one thing that I am firm about is I have one life to live, but within that life, there is an embodiment of things that I need to work on, that I need to give to the world, so that when I take my last breath, and I stand before my Heavenly Father, I will hear, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." Everything that God has given me to give to the world, it is a gift, and I am happy to share that gift. And that's why it is so important that whatever your gift is, whatever your calling is, whatever your talent is, whatever your passion is, that you do it with excellence. You do it with the best presentation of yourself personally and professionally. Because in the end, that's what really counts. It's not about the wealth. Yes, we do want wealth. I'm not going to sit here and say that we don't. But the greatest impact, whether it shows up in your bank account or not, is how you go about moving in this age, in your lifetime, with class, so that people will say in those final moments, whenever they may be, it's not about when he or she entered the world. It's not about when he or she exit the world, but what they did in the middle that really counts. So now let's talk about courage, okay? Courage is something that each of us has to work on. And I'm going to read a quote by Mark Twain. And that quote says as follows: "Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not the absence of fear." I'll read that again. Mark Twain said, "Courage is resistance to fear, the mastery of fear, not the absence of fear." So never think that you will not be afraid. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. I heard someone create the acronym of fear, false evidence appearing real. And this is when you have to take strongholds of courage and put it to work. Courage is not something you were born with, but it is something that you have to actively engage in your life daily. It takes courage to stand up against the naysayers. It takes courage to walk away from your job and start that business and not have money saved up, or the monies that you do have saved up will only last you a short period of time. It does take courage to say, I didn't finish my degree, but I'm going to go back to school, even if it requires that I have to take on a student loan. It does take courage to enter into a monogamous relationship and feel like you're fully investing yourself, not knowing if the relationship is going to be successful or not. It takes courage to move from city to city, state to state, for jobs or relationships or whatever that may be. That takes courage. But trust and believe. You can and you will do it. But it is something that you have to believe can happen for you. Let me read the definition to you of the word courage. The ability to do something that frightens an individual. Strength in the face of adversity or trial. The ability to do something that frightens an individual. Strength in the face of adversity or trial. That is the definition of courage. You have to wholeheartedly believe and know that you are the man or the woman for the assignment. I remember when I first began Fashion the Mind, Fashion the Figure, and I opened up and told my story. And I was scared because I didn't know how I would be perceived, but I didn't care because I know my message may not be for everyone, but there are certain people my message will resonate with. And that is why it is important, queens, that we understand the importance of pulling forth that class and that courage, because literally somebody is watching you. It could be your manager or supervisor. It could be your next door neighbor. If you're single, it could be your future husband. If you're married, it could be your current husband, okay? Just because you get married doesn't mean that your husband will not have expectations. And the same thing that you did to get him, you have to do the same thing, and sometimes and then some in the relationship. So you just never ever know. And it is time that we as beautiful women understand the power and the leadership that queens operate in. So my question now becomes, are you going to use your influence and leadership in a powerful, positive way? Or are you going to transform to the culture and be like all of the TikTok videos and Instagram videos and Facebook lives, okay? There has to be an elevated differentiation in who you are as a person. And though I am addressing the Queen's Court, this message can also parlay for our men, the King's Court. We've got our work cut out for us, ladies and gents, but I'm excited about it. Why? Because I know that the tide is turning. People are becoming so disappointed and so frustrated by the things that we are seeing. And now many of us are rising to the occasion because we want to impact change. And that's what Welcome to the Queen's Court is all about. It is to impact change so that as a woman, when someone calls you a queen, you can smile and nod confidently, knowing that you are a true royal priesthood. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to answer those questions. That's another activity for my audience. I cannot wait to hear what many of you have to say. If you would like to reach out to me privately, you can email me at fashionthemind@gmail.com. I welcome all of your feedback because I am excited about Welcome to the Queen's Court because this is near and dear to my heart. And I want to restore us back to our rightful place as queens in this world today. So take care and look for some more videos in the upcoming weeks. We got a few more character traits to cover, and they are coming over the next few weeks. Have a good one. Thank you.